Karen from the HOA tries to evict me without knowing that I own her house. I had just gotten home from work when I saw the notice taped to my front door. The bold red letters screamed, "Eviction Notice." I frowned, yanking it off and skimming the contents. According to this, I had exactly 30 days to vacate the property for violation of community standards and unpaid HOA fees. I sighed. I already knew who was behind this. Just as I turned to go inside, a familiar voice rang out.
"Finally, you're home."
I turned around to see Karen from the HOA, strutting across my lawn in her usual smug expression.
"I assume you've seen the notice,"
she said, crossing her arms. I held it up. "Oh, I've seen it, but there's just one little problem." She raised an eyebrow.
"And what would that be?"
I grinned. "You can't evict me from my own house," Karen scoffed.
"That's where you're wrong. You've violated multiple HOA regulations, and the board has voted to remove you from the community."
I chuckled. "Karen, I don't think you fully understand the situation," she smirked.
"I understand perfectly. You moved in here thinking you could ignore the rules. Well, we take community standards very seriously."
I folded my arms. "Let's talk about ownership for a second." She rolled her eyes.
"There's nothing to discuss. You have 30 days to leave before we take legal action."
I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. "I just have one question for you, Karen. Do you know who owns your house?" Her expression faltered for just a second.
"Of course I do. My husband and I bought it years ago."
I smirked. "Oh, did you? Because according to the deed, I own it." She blinked.
"What?"
I tapped my screen a few times, pulled up the records, and turned my phone toward her. "See? Bought it last month at an auction. Apparently, the previous owner defaulted on the mortgage and it was foreclosed. You must not have realized." Karen's face turned pale.
That's not possible."
"Oh, it's very possible," I said cheerfully. "And since you seem so eager to enforce eviction notices, I figured I'd return the favor." She started shaking her head.
No, you're lying."
I shrugged. "Call the county office if you don't believe me." She fumbled with her phone, hands shaking as she dialed. I stood there, arms crossed, as she spoke to someone on the other end. After a few moments, her face twisted in horror.
"No, there must be a mistake."
She sputtered. She hung up and looked at me, completely panicked.
You can't do this."
I tilted my head. "You mean like how you tried to evict me?" Karen's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. I sighed dramatically. "Look, I'm not heartless. I'll give you 30 days to leave, just like you gave me." She let out an indignant screech and stormed off, muttering about lawyers and lawsuits. But we both knew there was nothing she could do. I smiled to myself as I walked inside. Just another day in the neighborhood.